Okay. Hello, this is Group 3, the Community Creatives. My name's Annika.
My name is Ania.
I'm Rick.
And for our group, our topic is on symbolic interactionism.
So the basic definition of symbolic interactionism is that everything we do, including how we communicate and act, is determined by all of our previous communication. So our experiences and our social interactions affect all of our future communication and interpretation of everything we see or do or are a part of. And that's the basic definition, but it's kind of split into three premises. So we'll take you through each one of those.
Awesome. So, premise one is individuals place meaning on everything, and my own personal definition to fit with that premise is individual behaviors depend on the meanings that the individuals have placed on all physical objects, actions, ideas, and essentially everything the individual may interact with. It is also the way that we understand and respond to people based on the way that we interpret social interactions. So, premise one example. One example of symbolic interactionism is through my interaction with teaching young people. There are times when I notice, so say if I'm in a classroom and I notice a group of students talking, and I decide, okay, let me walk over there. As soon as I approach them, their conversation switches. And it's so obvious, but yet for some reason they think that I don't know that. In my mind, I might come to the assumption that they're talking about something inappropriate because in most situations, people tend to hush their conversations or change the topic when they do not want others to hear. Although it is possible that the students are speaking about something relevant to the class and they may not be comfortable to share, that's why they got quiet or switched the topic, I still might come to that assumption and react based upon my first judgment. This example represents symbolic interactions between adults and young people. There are social meanings, there are ways that we interpret so certain interactions. For example, young people might not think that they should talk to adults or think that there's some conversations that should be kept. Or maybe they assume that I don't know what they're talking about or it isn't relevant to me. And I might have my own views on my interactions with young people as well. So students, in this case, students place meaning on me as an authority figure, and that is possibly why they changed or hushed their conversation. And the way the students responded was contingent on that meaning that they had as well.
Awesome. So the second premise 2, is just pretty much the meanings of all physical objects, actions, and ideas are defined by interactions that individuals have with others and in the context of like society and culture. So an example that I have is on the culture aspect. So in many cultures, like in the US, giving eye contact to someone while they're speaking, let's say they want your undivided attention. So by showing respect in what they're saying, you give them eye contact while they're talking and you kind of nod along. Well, in a lot of Asian cultures and my culture, when an elder is talking to you, if you give them direct eye contact rather than averting your gaze, it is said to be disrespectful to your elders. So that someone younger than me gives me direct contact, sometimes it feels like uncomfortable and I feel a little bit offended. So they could not be offending me, and it could be a lot of different things. The symbolism kind of affects different people in different ways. So, I mean, if you have a different example or something about symbolic interactionism given culture and society, comment below. That'd be really nice to read about. But moving on to premise 3.
I want to say something on that too with eye contact and how it doesn't like in some cultures, yes, giving eye contact is disrespectful. And it can also be disrespectful if you're giving eye contact to the opposite gender. So, like, gender plays a role in that. And as well, and even in the States, amongst a lot of people or American culture, like, eye contact is seen as something that is respectful. But what happens if you stare too long at someone? Like, then it becomes uncomfortable. So it shows that it doesn't evenly apply. And we have to just be cautious of the way that we utilize it as well.
Yeah. So premise 3, basic definition is that meanings are modified by an interior process. So the meanings that are gathered from our interactions are interpreted who is taking in the information. So it's kind of like the constant internal conversation you're having with yourself that's just kind of always going in your brain. So an example of this, I have two siblings. One is 9 years older than me and one is 3 years older than me. So my experiences growing up with them and watching them age is much different between the two of them. And these experiences have kind of shaped the meaning I have given to their lives or just like their daily actions. And whenever I talk to them now, subconsciously, those conversations go through this internal interpretive process. And with every conversation, the meanings I have assigned to them are slightly altered. And I'm finding that it's kind of like the meanings I have assigned to both of them are becoming more similar. And I'm viewing both of them as kind of in the same way as we all grow older.
Why do you think you're viewing them in the same way now?
I feel like in the beginning, or like when I was starting to get older, I was like 10 years old. My brother was 13. We were like really similar. But my sister was almost 20. So like I just viewed her in a completely different way. But now, even though obviously the age differences are still the same, we are all like young adults. And so I feel like we're all kind of more in the same stage of life.
So you think age can affect the way that interior process is modified?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Okay. So some criticism against symbolic interactionism are...
Okay, so entirely qualitative. There was a significant movement to make all research quantitative, or at least have a quantitative component, but symbolic interactionism is still reliant on entirely qualitative data. So a lot of it is through observations, not necessarily numbers or things that you can put mount to.
Another criticism is it's not falsifiable. Largely to the qualitative nature of this theory, it is impossible to say the symbolic interactions are false. A lot of it is because it can be more dependent on person to person, history to history, and different interactions. So it can't be, you can't say it's wrong in a sense.
Yeah. And another criticism is this one's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing, like which came first. So the framework of communication needed to be established before any symbols could be created from that communication. But how can you communicate if you haven't assigned meaning to anything? So it's like, which came first, the communication or the meanings? Which kind of puts some holes in symbolic interactionism.
Yeah. I think that is all we have, but if y'all have like any questions or like responses or examples that you would want to share, that would be awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.